Hey everybody, it's Jillian. Yes, my hair is a little crazy today because I took a late night shower last night after I released a bunch of demons because, oh my gosh, yeah. I had the attack of the future. Then after that attack of the future, I ate like whipped cream. Remember that whipped cream that I showed you in my coffee? Well, instead of eating my probiotic yogurt, okay, that doesn't look good. I decided to eat the 2 cups of whipped cream. And wow, that was like everything. All the demons came out. So I know I look a little crazy because my hair is kind of crazy. But I don't want to go take a shower again. So I already took a shower last night. So just bear with me. Some days I'll just look. Oh gosh, okay. It was kind of, okay, give me 1 second. So, okay. So, yesterday I had the attack of the future. Like, I literally was pacing in my house thinking about everything of the future. What it was going to be like. Now, I never watched The Age of Adeline since, well, I've watched it this last year, but before that, never watched The Age of Adeline. Someone recommended it to me, and I think it came through Netflix. But she was like trying to hide her identity or her situation from people. Like, she would go away from relationships because she didn't want to know. She didn't want to be in a relationship where she couldn't get old with someone because her situation was like reversed and she was just living through different times. Okay? And so that was her source of frustration. But my demons came out yesterday. My fear of the future, what it's going to be like in the future. What it's going to be like to live by yourself, because you're not going to be married again, because you're married to someone who's going to die right in front of you over time. They're like watching your dog. You know, if you can't get into a stable environment and have biotech work in conjunction with you to have a dog stay with you forever, you're not going to get a dog again and watch the whole process of deterioration happen. Okay, when you become desensitized, when you become so sensitive to death, you're not going to want to watch that again in your own home. You're not going to want to be close to someone who is already set to pass away. You're not going to bring an animal that can't handle changes in the environment, because that's fucking heart-wrenching. So how do you live in a society that all they do is die and reproduce? How do you live by yourself and broadcast through Facebook? I mean, like, what do I look forward to? The reason why, not reason, but what I look forward to in between, my 5 days, mostly on my own, I look forward to hearing from my husband. I look forward to talking to him. I look forward to hanging out with him. I look forward to having that kind of human connection. And I know his demons. I can handle his demons. Okay? But we know as time goes on and people don't get ahead of their situation and life ravages them, time ravages them, their lifestyle, their beliefs, and everything ravages them, and they pass away. And you're left, okay, so now what? What do I do? Do I stay here and watch my neighborhood go through its stuff? What happens if they do changes in my neighborhood? Would I go live in a 55 plus place and live somewhere where I know I can handle, where I know my Social Security can pay for it? Because yesterday I called I called like one that's in my area. And I see like they have different square footage. And I see that there's a studio to 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and all that stuff, right? and I called up the lady and asked her, so how does this work? Because I've never put anyone in a retirement home. I mean, I'm 49 years old, and I'm thinking like, it's only gonna be like another 5 years before 55, another 10 years, be like 60, and then there's retirement, and then with my husband, just thinking like so much stuff, right? And then what happens if he passes away before me? Or, I mean, he will, but I mean, what happens if it happens sooner? What will I do? Well, I know I'll probably work if I need to make up the difference before Social Security kicks in. But I'm just like, okay. So I called up the 55 plus place, and I said, so what is this? So I got to know how this works. I was asking the lady, well, I'm 49 years old, and I have to really think of the future. Like, literally think of the future, because the future can come quick. even though the future may come quick, the future may not be prepared for you to deal with the future. So you have to wait until certain timelines are met. And so in America, we can retire at 62 or 67 or something like that, or 70. There's different retirement ages and you get different amounts of money, Social Security. That was thanks to FDR. And so I was asking the lady, the salesperson, so how does this work? What's your cheapest apartment? Because I saw that one of my relatives or friends from a long ago, they're on Facebook, I'm watching them in a retirement home, and they're like 80 and they're enjoying it. It's a nice resort living, and they have a nice big spread of food, and they have choir and all these activities, and they all hang out together, and I mean, it looks like a one big happy family, right? Of course, that's the marketing. And of course, I'm sure he's happy too. But I asked the lady, so what's the pricing of this? And she's like, well, I mean, how do you buy these places, or you rent, or do you buy a home and then you sell your home and that you've already paid off because of this, and then you go and buy a place on this place? Oh no, this is a place where you rent for like $3,000 a month. That was the lowest. I guess there's other places like $2,000 a month. And everything is included. Everything. Your Wi-Fi, your utilities, your food, your entertainment. It's like going to a resort and having everything just there for you. And I'm like, oh my God, wow. I'm like, oh my God, wow. And I was thinking, as I was talking to her, I was thinking like, God, this sounds like a vacation. When you think about it, it sounds like a freaking vacation. And she said, well, you should come down and come visit us, let me take your, I'll check my information, because I'm like, hey, you don't know what happens in the future, but it's just nice to explore what it's like to stand in the shoes of the future. When you can predict. Obviously, everything is predictable out there because people do what they do. They watch their grandparents pass away and deteriorate, and they're taking care of them. So that's what's going to happen to them. So that's not hard to predict the future. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in your home? Are you going to sell it? What about your husband or your wife? Or if you're single, are your kids going to take care of you? Are you going to, what is it? And so I'm thinking the same thing, not so much who's going to take care of me, but what kind of community am I going to live in? I mean, right now I live in an area, in a block where it's going to change. I actually had something in the mail where someone wants to buy my property, which is not going to happen. But there are outside investors who are trying to buy up all these houses on this block. And we've heard about outside investors coming in and taking over. And what are they going to turn this place into? And during that process, are we going to have a lot of shit go on? Who knows? And will I want to sit on a property, like let's say 10, 15, 20 years in the future, will I want to sit on this property and look and figure out what's going on? So I was just listening to her, and then she took my information, and I'm like, got off the phone, like, okay, obviously that's way in the future, but not really when you think about it, because life goes by really quickly. And I've been like, well, do I really want to be in an apartment? I went into the website and looked at the different apartments, trying to see like where the entrance is. The entrance isn't always like in the front door. That's like where all the communal activities are, and maybe some people who actually have assisted living care. But then there's there's conjoining or other separate buildings where it's like apartment buildings and like 3 floors. And if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to live in a more of a communal setting where I had the option to go hang out with people, even if they were all deteriorating more than me, and I'm just here going like, okay, would I want to live alone like I do now, unless until my husband comes home, but have the option to go out and hang out with people who are relatively safe, versus living here and my husband's gone, and who's my interaction, right? Who would be my like Facebook, right? But then is that going to be enough? What will I be doing? And then you can't really predict the future. So these are things I was thinking about, but I mean, obviously you don't know how life might change in the future. Will life take me in a different direction, like 10 or 15 years in the future? And I'm still looking like this, because yesterday after that, and I had coffee, or not coffee, I had whipped cream, or I ate some food. I didn't even take a nap, but I had 2 cups of whipping cream, and I'll tell you, oh my gosh, it was like the first time doing waterfalls. Like, I'm serious. If you actually drink a bunch of whipped cream, and this white thing, this is bleach, just if this is annoying you, it's bleach. But if you drink 2 cups of whipped cream, man, or any kind of milk, I wasn't like congested. I didn't have any congestion. No, like whatever was hanging out in my colon came out, and then so much other stuff came out. It was so insane. It was great. That's how you clean your system out with life. You don't clean your system out. I mean, you can wake up your system with the J juice. Absolutely. But then you don't want to do too much of it because it'll cure you, and then you will not evolve, and then it'll also suck the life out of you over time because the demons will stay in your body. But when you do milk or cream, now you see, look, I'm not losing fat. I'm not losing collagen. I'm not aging. I'm just staying right the same. I'm not getting younger because you're not going to regress. You're going to stay the same. You're going to look whatever it is that is where you look the healthiest, felt the healthiest. And it could be at 25 or 30. It could be at 40. I mean, nowadays, what does healthy mean in the range, the age ranges today? Well, that's, you could have a 35-year-old that looks like they're 60 and they have so many health issues. So they're really, so it's just, right now, I'm 49 years old, and this is what I look like. Imagine being 49 years old or 60 or 70 or 80 and looking like this. That's what you have to realize, that's the fears that I'm trying to figure out, is how am I going to, what's the world going to be like when I'm 80 years old, 100 years old, and I look like I'm 50 or 49 or 48 or 47 or 35, whatever your perspective of what I look like. What's the world going to be like? Yeah, I'll be able and bodied like this. Okay. I go get a job and they want to look up my ID, because you're not supposed to tell them your age when you go and interview for a job. But when you show them your ID and they're like, wow, you were born in 1974, and it's like the year 2050. They'd be like, what the hell? What the hell? Right? And so, I mean, but even then, will it be that point? Will I be needing a job at that point? I'll be living on Social Security and trying to figure out my next phase in life. I mean, I probably will, but maybe I'll be writing more books. So, talking about this experience of changing, and it's like of living and thriving, when you think about it, in a society that's dying. Okay? These are the things that you guys in the J world, when you actually are serious about it, like Audrey, I know you're serious about it. I know John's serious about it. I so want to see him get to the next level. Him and his significant other, Gemma, and all their kids. I want to see all of you guys, like Tanya and Pip and all of you guys. I want to see you feel, I want you to really see what it's like to stand in the shoes of what it's like to be in the future when you look a certain way, when you let go of all your predisposed issues, you can handle the climate change. And everyone around you is fucking dying. Even your kids, because they haven't figured out. Maybe some have. Some of you are lucky enough. But some of you are not lucky enough, and your kids will not do what you're doing. And you're staying younger, and they're getting older. Even grandmas, if there's any grandmas out there that can do it. So there's some grandmas in the J world that are probably not going to get to that point. I mean, I was hoping for them, but it's tough to pull yourself away, to be sick, have people around you nipping at your toes. Now you got to come out, you got to do this, you got to do that. You can't be sick. Here's a remedy. Here's a surgery. Oh, here's your grandchildren. Watch your grandchildren. When you're watching your grandchildren all the time, you're not going to have time to take care of yourself. You're like a mother again. Because even kids do not allow their mothers, or grandmothers, to their grandchildren, take the time for themselves. And so why does grandma like being around the grandkids? Because she's passing away and they're giving her some kind of energy because she can't produce it on her own. And they won't let her produce on her own. And that's the jail of families and expectation and wanting to be the good grandparent or the good parent. Is that either you will be sacrificed or you'll sacrifice your kids for the system. And so those are like the demons. What are demons? Or whatever causes you imbalance. taking away your life force. If you make food out to be a demon because you think food is taking away your life force, and yet you die anyways, I guess everyone around you will learn the hard way that food was never the issue. Food was not the demon. That meat was not the demon. That milk was not the demon. The eggs, the fruits, the vegetables, the carbs, the gluten, the GMO was not the demon. The lab-created meat was not the demon. Life should be able to handle all food in the food supply. Because you have a cow here that was made out there outside, and you had a cow here that was made in a lab. There is no fucking difference that one was made in a lab and one wasn't. But they both have relatively the same constituents. There might be slight changes because of how they were grown. And you can call it organic versus synthetic. Okay, fine, if you want to put that political spin on it, so that way you can sell someone into not eating food when they finally get away from factory farming and starve them, turn them political against food, or be like, hey, it's just fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. Okay? And you are made of viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. The food is made up of viruses, parasites, protozoa, fungus, and bacteria. All right? And, okay. But see, we're in a depopulation agenda. We have people depopulating even their own culture. Tell them, oh, watch out for the lab-created meat. Eventually, there's going to be no factory farming. Eventually, there's only going to be lab-created meat available. And then you see all the ones who are like all the organic people. Be like, oh God, they're trying to poison us. Oh God, this. Oh God, that. Actively starving their friends and family. But that's all by design. Or saying, oh yeah, eat the soy proteins and that's it. But you can't tell them that because remember, they're entrenched. They're not only malnourished, entrenched, but they are ghosts of the past. They are the ancestors that are destroying their own kind. That's the thing about ghosts, is that we have living ghosts right now that are destroying the current, they're destroying the future. They're destroying their own children. Maybe you need to examine how you react to symptoms, how you react to life in your body. Maybe undergoing trauma in your body was never the answer, like surgeries, like taking pills, powder supplements, detoxes. Because maybe that was the demons take away your life force. Yep, Audrey Giz, I seen a status yesterday saying that mRNA is now in the food supply, as if people aren't already scared enough of the food. Oh yeah. Messenger ribonucleic acid, mRNA. See, again, if your immune system is already compromised because of lifestyle predisposed issues and using the system, medical holistic system, it's not going to matter what's going to trigger your predisposed issues, whether it's a therapy, whether it's that food, whether it's this or that. All of these fear campaigns is the ancestors taking down their children. All these fear campaigns, and it's it's meant to happen that way. But why do I say this if it's meant to happen that you can't change people? Because there's always going to be somebody who's going to be on the fence. Who is evolutionary, but will never admit it, even to me, because they're probably one of my trolls that finally realize, oh shit, maybe she's fucking right. But they'll never admit it to me. They probably won't even admit it to their friends who are trolls. And that's fine. Don't say anything. Keep it to yourself. I'll be your mouthpiece for you. You just do what you have to do to survive. But you don't need to tell anyone this. Let me be the one. Because if you said something, and if you've taken a stand, one side or the other, then be like, you're such a hypocrite, you're this, and you don't need that kind of bullshit. And I understand that. I get it. I've been on one side or the other and how to take a middle ground. And people are like, you're such a sellout, you're this, whatever. But that's why I speak. Is because there's somebody out there that's on the fence, and that has the capacity to change. Even if they can't do all out change and they're going to be up against a lot of roadblocks, it was that one seat, just like that one seat at Chapman University, when that professor showed us that movie, Loose Change, in 2006. And it didn't really I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, what was I going to do? Go protest it? Oh my God, 9/11 was an inside job in 2006. And I wasn't even listening to Alex Jones back then. So I had nothing to work from. I was still listening to Fox, or not Fox, but CNN and NBC and MSNBC. I was still listening to all the left narratives over there in California, NPR. There was nothing when it comes to the conspiracy world. I was listening to, was it Howard Stern? So that just kind of stayed, that movie, that little seed that was dropped at Chapman University was just a little tiny seed that just stayed in my body. It was a memory that just stayed there. And then when all the conditions were right, and my husband and I were on the truck, and he was sleeping as I was awake, because when he was driving, I would fall asleep because either my PMS would kick in or the engine would just lull me to sleep, and it was just boring. It's just a bunch of freeway. So I'd sleep all day and be up all night. And then that's when the conspiracy world took hold. And maybe, I don't remember if I remembered listening or watching that movie, watching that movie in 2006 when my professor showed it to us in the adult school, Chapman University. See, academia. So life should be able to handle all the food in the food supply. Life does not demonize food. Life needs all food. Maybe you should examine how you react to your symptoms, how you react to life in your body. Maybe undergoing trauma to your body was never the answer. That was the demon taking away your life force. Maybe all the constant distractions in your life are also the demons taken away from your life force. Demonology aren't the little goats sitting on the fence giving you the evil eye. Demonology could be everything around you taken away from you, keeping you out of balance, in service to them 24/7. And little demons could be your dog, little demons could be your kids, little demons could be people who need you so much all the time, and they are always constantly texting you, phoning you, don't give you a moment to fucking breathe. Those are the demons in your world that you have to learn how to figure out how are you going to extricate yourself so they're not fucking sucking the life out of you. Demons are people who need you all the time. All the time. I could be a demon to my husband sometimes. Like yesterday when we were trying to figure stuff out and I'm telling him, oh, this and that. So I was a little demon to him because I had my little anxiety of the future. I was like, oh my God. but he wasn't I didn't pose it to him like, oh gosh, what happens, what will happen if you pass away, and then what am I going to do? Am I going to stay here for the rest of my life? Are you going to retire? I mean, it was more like, I don't know. Like last night when he called me before I went to bed, and he wasn't going to go to bed till like 10, and it was like 8, and he was still driving. He's like, I'm going to call you because I'll say goodnight to you because your old ass is going to go to sleep. And so he makes fun. He think, he's a funny guy, I swear. But he understands, me. I mean, and he does and he doesn't. He thinks I'm crazy, like most people out there, but it's an endearing kind of like, oh, because I do have something to offer, something to bring to the table, and he knows it, and I know it, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for both of us working together with his skills, my skills, building a life together. Okay, that's why we lasted this long for 11 something years. And so when we were talking yesterday and I was calling him being a little demon, he was like, yeah, well, retirement for us is not good, for at least me, it's going to be longer than we're married, okay? And I'm like, okay, well, I was just like, okay, so, but I needed to get it out. I wanted him to figure out, what do you plan to retire in this house? Do you plan to move? What do you want? I mean, how do you want to do this? If he's like, well, I'm not even thinking about that now. I'm trying, and I'm just like, oh shit. So I could be a little demon to my husband sometimes when I have the attack of the fear of the future, as far as just myself, because when you look at me again, and I drank a bunch of milk, someone else, they would like blow up. They would gain so much weight and they'd blow up and feel horrible and get all this or all this mucus in their face and maybe have a little diarrhea and they'd just feel sick. Me, no, I felt sick for a second, but it was sickness. It was like an evolution. My body just released the demons. And there was so much poop that came out, even fossilized poop. And you're like, where the hell did that come from? But yeah, I built up so much. I could feel the gurgling in my belly. I developed life. My belly was a little bloated last night. Now it's not. I was farting all last night. But that was the gases from that chemical reaction releasing. And so I just gave myself life. I took away any hands of aging process. I replenished whatever resources. That's what milk does for people, but people can't handle the evolution of life. And so they get sucked dry. Their children grow up emaciated, hardly any fat on their body. And they grow old quick. That's when kids don't drink enough milk or cream, or they have lactose intolerance, they can only eat plant-based milks or nut milks, or their mama's giving them only nut milk. These children are starving. It's fucking crazy to watch. But what can you do? That the parents don't want to deal with evolution. They want to deal with, oh, here's what my life is today. There should be no interruption, no pain, no suffering, no getting stronger, no conditioning for the future. It's like, today my life has to be perfect, pain-free today. That's most parents' mentality, is pain-free, no suffering, no conditioning for really hardship, and hey, give me whatever I want that is making me happy. Entitlement. So you have parents who are entitled, and they have a whole slew of people that will give them whatever the fuck they want. All they do is go on the internet, but hey, I wish for this. Somebody give me this. Somebody get me this. Somebody recommend me this. Somebody say this. Somebody give me love. Pray for me. It's endless of what some of these parents and children ask for on the internet. So they don't understand pain and suffering and hardship and conditioning for toughness. Oh no, they're given everything on the fucking internet, everything. So of course you're not going to fucking survive climate change. And they're starving in the meantime. And they're fucking starving in the meantime. Do you think a kid or a parent could drink 2 cups of whipped cream and be like, wow, that was awesome? Oh, it was great. It was a trip. I was like, holy shit, what did I just do? But it felt awesome. And everything felt fine. And then I feel great this morning. Because my system is open. My system is open. But wow, did a bunch of stuff come out. Wow. That's like doing the J juice using milk. Using, actually not even milk, cream. See, that's the joy of life. Of ice cream, whipped cream with sugar. And people are actively staying away from the things that made them happy as a child. You see how these kids are going to have ice cream? Ice cream was like the most funnest thing, right? Most funnest thing. You remember going back and eating ice cream as a kid? And now you see parents and children as they grow up. Ice cream is not even in their fucking future. Milk is not even in their future, or even in their current world. My mom stopped drinking milk. She stopped drinking milk. She had a little bit of ice cream. She'd have frozen yogurt. She didn't drink milk at all. At all. And so you can see the correlation of really skinny people, like literally skinny people. There's not enough milk in their diet. They're malnourished. And so now you're looking at Jessica Simpson. Now you go on Facebook and look at Jessica Simpson. She's starving to death. You look at a lot of these stars are now trying to promote their, going to a new world a new campaign of selling stuff, and they have to look the part. And so they're super skinny, or they're a little messed up in the head because of all the conservative shift stuff, like Britney Spears or Amanda Bynes. So they may have weight on them, but their brain is scrambled. They haven't released those demons of performing and sex. That's why Hollywood could be a double-edged sword. It could be an amazing tool of control and innovation and influencing. And it also can mess up those that are used as a tool. Or they could be those that like a Paris Hilton or Nikki Hilton, Stepford Wives. One was sexy, one was all into this. So you saw the dynamic between the two. That's right there an example of MK Ultra, where you have 2 of the same girls maybe undergo probably the same type of stuff, but they end up, or maybe not totally the same, but one ends up sexy and on the internet and doing a bunch of sexy stuff, like a lot, and the other one has been relatively respectable. married to a Rothschild. Okay? You see how programming, that's the Stepford Wives. If you ever watched that, the 1970s version, and then also Nicole Kidman's version, the 1990s or 2000s. The programming of people, programming of Hollywood, programming of the kids, Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley produced so many programmed people that are influencing you guys in all different ways. And then you're seeing what things happen that are coming out in the Truth and Reconciliation papers, whatever, from the 1960s and 70s, and the Manson stuff. And eventually you'll see stuff with 9/11. And then here I am going like, okay, so now what is it going to be like? Watching the people around me die off as I am just staying the same, feeding myself. No, I don't go on trips. No, I don't go out there and hang out with a bunch of people all the time. I don't have a bunch of friends and family that distract me. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I'm developing my brain and wondering what it's like to stand in the shoes of the future. Because remember, the future is predictable when you don't change. So I can predict all of you guys that haven't changed. I can predict, yeah, you're not going to be able to withstand the future. You'll be one of those temporary people. Doing your herbs, your extracts, your detoxes, having all these experiences that, okay, that's great, but you have those experiences, then you die. What was it all for? How many experiences do you need? But my kids, well, let your kids figure it out. At some point, they're going to have to, figure out how to lead their own life without you always trying to give them everything. That's the thing with entitlement. We have these parents that give their kids everything, and the parents are not even being an example of longevity, just a short-term shooting star, and then you get validation for it. Oh, I gave my kids everything. They live a great life. They have this. And yeah, they'll be temporary just like you. Great, Mom and Dad. Good job. So what do you do, Jillian? You start now changing now because nice to write it on the wall. You have a chance to redirect. I'm not saying that you could do what I'm doing. I'm saying I'm hoping that you can. I'm giving you the opportunity to see how well you can, if you can intellectually, have the intellectual capacity to understand where I'm coming from first. Because if you don't have it up here, you're not going to have it down there. So if you're already listening to me now, if you're already watching me now, you probably get it intellectually on some level, or else I'm just some TV show that you're just, needing entertainment. But believe me, I'm not that entertaining. I don't have gadgets and horns and music and shit. I just talk. But if you're listening now, you probably have it up here. You understand kind of where I'm coming from up here. But now you can determine, do you have the body? And do you have the spirit to deal with the actual evolution? Releasing the demons and gaining substance. And taking a fucking break of trying to give everything to everybody else out there, not you. Because even your husband or your wife could be the demon to you. If you have a husband's like, yeah, you're stupid, or not saying that, but yeah, I don't believe in Jillian, she's stupid. I don't think you should do this, wife or husband or whatever. And they're undermining you at every fucking turn, yeah, you're screwed. When you're married to someone who will undermine you and take your life away and feed off of you, that's what goes on too in marriages out there. Is there are husbands and wives that will undermine their significant other because they want them to pass away with them. They don't want to die alone. Well, if you lived longer than your husband or wife, you're not going to die alone. If you pass away sooner than somebody else, they won't ever die alone. You'll always be there. But then when someone is ready to die or set to pass away in the next 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to want you to go do everything that they couldn't do when they were working. They're going to want you to be on every trip with them, hang out and go do, playing cards or going drinking or hanging out with the grandkids or doing all these things because they got to get all that in before they fucking leave, and you have to be there with them, or else you're like, a non-player. You're antisocial. You're a fucking hermit. They'll make your family will make fun of you. Your kids will make fun of you. Oh, I've seen it. Kids will make fun of people, and so will the parents, and so these poor grandparents who are fucking stuck be in that role of being everyone's everything, they don't have a chance to fucking redirect. That's what sucks. Unless you're strong enough against your own demons of a family who will take you fucking down with them. And so that's why you have to understand intellectually where I'm coming from, because you're going to have to be fucking smarter than everyone around you who will nip at your heels and tell you that you're stupid, don't want you to be sick, don't want you to be in bed, want you to be out there all the time serving them 24/7. So when you're part of a group, with your family, friends, associations, whatever, it's called a cult, culture. There's a fine line between listening to information and looking for validation from the person giving the information. Can you be a source? So pretend that you understand kind of the J world and you now want to start extricating yourself away from your family, your friends, all that stuff, and start taking care of yourself and putting down boundaries. There's a fine line between listening to information and looking for validation from the person giving the information. Can you be a source and separate yourself from being a guru or a leader or a matriarch or a patriarch, right? Or looking for validation from the group leader or a guru? Can you yourself extricate yourself from the drive to lead other people, to lead your kids, to lead your family, to lead your friends, to lead your whatever? Can you yourself extricate yourself from the drive to lead other people? Holding court is cultish mentality. Can you offer information like an encyclopedia and separate yourself from the information? That's the next step. In other words, can you lead without leading? Which means you have to know all sides of the story on any subject matter, or else you become a cult. And it could be a mom is a cult leader, a dad is a cult leader, grandparents are cult leaders, parents are cult leaders. Yes, you have to get your kid raised to a certain way to handle the society, but at some point at 18 it must stop. When you let them figure out for yourself, and then you figure out for yourself, and you all kind of diverge and figure out your life, because maybe your life paths aren't the same unless you want to be taken down because they're sucking the life out of you, grandma, grandpa. Which means you have to know all sides of the story on any subject matter, or else you become a cult, a religion, offering only a biased perspective called tradition. Will you give people the choice to understand the other side as if you're trying to lead them from that as well? Can you become so convincing you are an authority on both sides? Can you support the left and the right equally? Now, I'm making politics so you understand kind of from that point of view, because most people come from left or right. Can you support the left and the right equally? Can you support the left and the right and center equally and still maintain an open position and still make a choice for you and yourself and your children, and you're still open to evolution? That's the next step. So yeah, if you have young kids, you're going to have to be open, but then figure out, make a choice for yourself and your kids. But then you look at the choice that you're making for your kids. What's that going to look like in the future? How will your kids survive in the future when they haven't been exposed to certain things that are appropriate? Now, appropriate is all relative, but no one's harming them by touching them. But yeah, images like people looking a certain way that people are not used to, like gender fluidity, is like, okay, but that's the future. I mean, you could try to stay as homogenized as possible, but again, when you die, mom, and you're biased your kids to be looking at only one way of doing things, and you pass away, will they be equipped enough to handle the future? Or do you plan to have them die too sooner than later because they can't handle the diversity in their environment? That's really what parents are cursing their children with, is intolerance. That's what most parents right now are cursing and casting spells on their children, is intolerance. I'm not saying you should put your kid in anything, in any danger, but I'm telling you, the world is changing. It literally is changing. And you got to set them up. But if you want to cast spells and make them intolerant, they won't survive. Or they'll say something stupid and someone will hurt them for what they say, because they don't know any better. They're out there saying stuff, and they're out there doing stuff, and they're out there being stuff and protesting, and they end up, when they're protesting against a way of life or something, and they end up an example on TV. Oh, look at the protest, like January 6th. Look what happened to that girl, January 6th. She rushed into the building and somebody shot her. if she hadn't been radicalized like that, if she hadn't even been there, she would still be alive today. But somebody radicalized her. And that's what's going on, is we have parents radicalizing their kids. And they'll end up being an example. And they won't survive. But maybe that's the intention. Because you absolutely hate the changes in our society. And so if it means sacrificing yourself and your kids for it, so be it. And then when you die, it's not going to matter anyway. Society's going to fucking change no matter what. And so with Lemon and Carlson leaving together, Carlson got a nice package. Tucker Carlson got a nice severance package. You think he's really like crying over that? No. He was probably all set to happen together. I'm sure Don Lemon got a nice package, but will they say it? I don't know. But it's got, I mean, optics. It has to look like, oh God, Don Lemon was forced out. Now he's all crying in his coffee, and Tucker Carlson made out like a bandit. Okay, that's fucking soap opera shit. You fall into that stuff, yeah, okay. Okay, so you want to save yourself. You literally want to save yourself from dying and all these changes. You really have to understand both sides of the story. And if you're dealing with young kids, well, what are you setting them up for? Intolerance, and they die sooner. That's literally what's going on. Is we have parents setting their kids up for intolerance to the environment, to the food supply, to the economics, to the social constructs. And they're not going to stand a chance. And you haven't set them up correctly. Because remember, parents, you're entitled. You want everything given to you on the internet. Somebody recommend me this. Someone give me that. Oh, look at that person. That person's ugly. Oh, look what they're doing. She's stupid. She's this. She's that. And so what's the next thing that I have to learn how to do? Well, is separate yourself from the information, giving you all sides of the story. So all sides of the story is, yeah, you can stay homogenized and protect your kids from the evil demons that look different. And so then yeah, they grow up homogenized, and so you have a bunch of friends and family that all think the same way politically. And then they see stuff on TV or stuff comes into the world, because you can't be that impenetrable. It's like building so many calluses your whole body, you don't let any evolution in, you'll die from that homogenization. There's got to be some evolution or you will die. And so that's kind of that's fine. If you believe in death, don't evolve. If you believe in death, shield your kids from any kind of hardship, shield them from any kind of diversity, shield them from any kind of germs, withhold food for them, because that's what you're doing anyways. You're afraid of the GMO and the meat, the milk and the cheese and the eggs. If you believe you should die someday, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Is be so homogenized, so intolerant, and so de-evolutionary. People speak their own destruction. Yesterday when I posted that picture of the flat earth versus round earth, and they're saying no evolution in the flat earth side, no evolution means death. That's what it means. But we're okay with that. Yeah, in a slower environment, that's fine. Now you accelerate the environment, death is going to happen faster for those that believe in death. You know why? Because the environment, the particle acceleration, the crazy storms, the changes are going on. You have not been equipped to deal with evolution. And either you start today, or you will end up so intolerant that you won't be able to handle a heart attack or a stroke. That's how people die. See, the lady on Dr. Phil, why she survived her heart attack and stroke, regardless of where you think she got it from and who did it to her, her body was tolerant enough to handle that. But that was an indicator that she had a lot of crap in her system that needed to move and cause an event that saved her life. But if she doesn't change the way she does things, and it doesn't mean that she just stops the body from moving stuff, she doesn't start releasing those demons, she's set up for another one where she won't survive it. She'll be intolerant. Why would she be intolerant? Because she didn't condition her body to move that stuff through and feel the pain of high blood pressure and drink water and rest. High blood pressure is the body pushing through all that shit through the system and bringing up the antidiuretic hormone to then hydrate her body because she doesn't drink enough water. That's why people have high blood pressure. That's why people die from heart attacks and strokes, because they are so deficient. They don't want to evolve. They're afraid of meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, salt, water, and salt and sugar and gluten and GMO and air and food and everything under the fucking sun. And now look, they're a sitting duck and they don't survive climate change. And look, then they're going to blame it on the V's because they died suddenly. Let me tell you, if the V's were that poison, everyone that took them would have taken them would be dead. If they were that deadly. No, the reason why people die, and maybe they had a V or not, is because their parents didn't want them to handle hardship called sickness and symptoms and blowing their nose. They kept feeding them elderberry syrup, giving them operations, have machines suck out the mucus from their body. And so their body is not conditioned to push things through. Their body is not conditioned to open up, vasodilate and vasoconstrict. They're fucking weak. These children are weak. They're breaking bones. Oh, but yeah, hey, whatever, who cares, right? As long as it's not me, it's my kid, and I have social capital. Everyone loves me, and my kid, everyone loves me. I'm the greatest parent in the fucking world. Yeah, okay. Until you're not a parent anymore because your kid passed away, or you happen to contract a disease, or you happen to waste away and just die from a heart attack because, remember, you don't want to feel stuff, so you're taking J juice or some other detox out there, surgery, and you don't survive, mama. And then when you don't survive and grandma doesn't survive, neither does the fucking kids. They don't fucking survive either. It's all by design because how intolerant parents are, and they teach intolerance to their children. Predictable. So here I am on the other side, dealt with all my predisposed issues, and I'm building myself up, and I'm maintaining, keeping the fat in my face, keeping mental clarity, keeping myself sharp, fluctuate with the environment. I don't stop any energy, and I'm standing in the shoes of the future, watching everyone around me die off. What's it going to be like for me? Dealing with everyone around me dying or going through the process, watching the cycle of birth and death in front of me. But I don't want to get too close to people who are dying. I chose my dog and I watched that process. Okay, not doing that again. Not doing that again. I got married. I'm okay with watching that process. He has a chance to redirect if he wants to, but I can't make him. There's people on the internet. Good to see you too, Matthew. People on the internet, I don't have that much a connection to. I do and I don't. And so if you happen to pass away, I'm not going to feel too bad because we don't really have an investment in each other. Some of you who have been around the J world, I'll feel bad, but I'll be like, dude, why did she die? She didn't have to die, but I guess she decided to go that direction. I'd be very surprised to see people that are close to the J world pass away if they've been around this information. But am I going to be broken up over it? I'll be sad. It's when you're physically in contact with someone, when you have that connection with somebody, like in your house, in your presence, even in your body, when you think about it, because when you're dying to reproduce in your body and you feel the release of the demons, you feel the energy. And you'll feel the building up of, you feel the gurgle in your stomach, the life that's developing. That's difficult to deal with. When you're watching someone my husband and I have been through so much. We have been through so much. It will destroy me. Not really, but I mean, it would be so heart-wrenching to go, but I'm prepared for that because I know the future. For myself, there's no reason why I would deteriorate because I keep feeding myself and the most basic foods, meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, not so many vegetables. I'm not trying to turn it into a vegetable. I know how to release the demons. I'm not aging out. I don't have any diagnosable conditions. There's no reason why I would have diagnosable condition even in the future. Cancer's not my future because I release the demons. So, yeah, so that's the shoes, those who are actually serious in the J world, I want you to stand in what it's going to be like in the future for you, what are you going to do financially? How are you going to assimilate and transition to the next world? People in America, we get Social Security, may not be a lot, but we do. People over there in other places, what kind of situation are you going to present? Are you going to figure out? Like in Scotland, UK. I don't want to say developing countries because they're still developing. Some will make it, some will not. I mean, obviously, even here in the first world. They probably have a better chance in the first world to survive all this, and those in a developing country because of all of the, because of the economics, all the things are going on. Do they have even a safety net? Can you take time off? Or do you have demons at your heels telling you, oh my God, you have a sickness, let me go and exorcise it out and do all this and give you ayahuasca and give you all these different herbs and drugs, which are so famous in indigenous populations, the shamans, feeding people drugs or feeding people herbs and extracts and concoctions. They're so bitter. Chinese remedies. I used to take Chinese remedies for my PMS. One time I left them in the cabinet. I didn't want to take them because it was so bitter. The tea was so bitter. I got it from a Chinese store somewhere in San Francisco. And all it was like a tea. But I drank it and I'm like, okay. So I leave it in the cabinet. I just leave it in there thinking like, okay, it's going to stay there forever. There were so many bugs. That came out of that cabinet from that tea. It was fucking insane. I was like, oh my God, the demons. Well, I didn't say that back then. But I was like, holy shit. So, yeah. So the world's not what you think. And J-World, I really want you to start thinking about what it's going to be like. Because that will put you in the space of taking care of yourself. That will put you in the space of wondering how are you going to planning for that type of situation. How are you going to plan for that? Okay? And when you start planning for things like that, then you'll start developing a path, a way to get yourself to the next level. In your housing, in your future, even future jobs, writing, speaking. I'm telling you, writing and speaking is an excellent skill to have. Start developing yourself now when you have the time. Like literally start developing yourself. Learn the skills of the future and of the present. What are the skills of the future? Understanding computers, articulating, writing, understanding all the different applications in Microsoft. Because it's fine to go play around with all the conspiracy stuff, with the robots and the changes. But I'm telling you, if you don't prepare yourself to figure out how you're going to transition yourself, to know how to navigate with the technology and with your voice, because now you're seeing on Facebook and YouTube and the internet, it's all about branding yourself. Yeah, you can belong to a company, but look at what's going on with Meta. You've been there for 8 years and they're all laid off. And they're all laid off. So what are they going to do next? How are they going to develop themselves? Are they going to be lost? Was that their identity, was working at Meta or Facebook? 8 years. That's like with my dog, 8 years. Once the money runs out, what are they going to do next? That's what you're going to have to figure out. What are you going to be now and in the future? How are you going to develop yourself? Are you going to learn coding skills? Get the skills under your belt. If you don't know how to type, learn how to type. But start planning for that kind of future. That's what I'm talking about, J-World. Because you were prepared to pass away. You were prepared to retire and pass away someday. So that's why you really developed, and you were dealing with your health issues. So there wasn't a big future for you, right? But now those are in the J who actually take this shit seriously. You will be starting over again. You will be learning a skill. You're going to have to, and you also, this is also for those People can be like, wow, you're 50, or wow, you're 80 and you look like you're 50, you're 49. Those who are serious in the J world, you will deal with some really awesome stuff in the future. You will be an anomaly to those around you who are dying, actively dying, on their herbs, pills, power supplements with a bunch of children. And I've given Audrey a good platform. I've given John a great platform. Even those that are with me back then in the Dr. Phil world who are not around anymore, I've given them a great platform. We'll see what they do with it. We'll see what they do with it. Most have actually fallen through the cracks or went back to their old lifestyle because their family, their friends sucked them right back into the system again. But you, Audrey and John, and anyone, and even Tanya and other people, you've been given an amazing fucking platform for the future. And you will be an anomaly. You will be like, wow. People be like, whoa. Because right now people are saying like, IFL science are like, oh yeah, humans can surpass 122 or 130. And you're like, yeah, okay, when they look at the person, they look like they're fucking decrepit, the crypt keeper. And they're 122. No, you're going to be 122 and you're going to look like you're fucking 40. That's what's in your future, those who are serious in the J world. You will be an anomaly. Because you will fluctuate with the surroundings and you will bring in the fat. The system is not going to starve out the humans that are actually, they're going to want strong-ass humans. Intellectual, peaceful, strong humans who have something to contribute to society. Not those that are little demons are taking things away from everybody because they can't handle their own bullshit. So you will always have the fatty acid. It's not always going to be in the form that you're used to. But you will have the fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. Even if it's lab created, you will have that. We will stop enslaving animals and factory farming or even organic farming. We will stop enslaving animals. Pets, well, that's a different story. Even the zoos are releasing animals like whales and dolphins. But even zoos, unless the animals are injured, if they're not injured, then they should be set free because that's torture. To cage up a bird, to cage up any animal. But when you have so many humans who are breeding, reproducing constantly, they have to have animals to enslave because they're enslaved themselves. They're enslaving their kids. And so at some point, humans and animals will be free in the future. It's going to be a transition. But those in the J world, this is what I want you to think about. Start figuring out 15, 20 years from now, what kind of skills will you have? Have you even developed your skills? This is the time to do it. This is the time to develop your speaking skills, developing your writing skills, developing your study skills. I got a great foundation. Yes, my mother, she rammed academics down my throat where I ran away from academics for such a long time. And I went back to it. But I have like $60,000 in student loans to show for it. That's all that's on my credit report is student loans that are up to date because we're in a moratorium or something. Okay? Start studying stuff. Start writing. I was writing so much stuff. Writing is going to help you articulate your thought process, organize your thoughts, learning new words. Because again, the internet can be such a fucking distraction with all the conspiracy bullshit, all the fear around climate change. Yeah, I post stuff like that, but I also remember I've developed myself too. The last 7 years, you saw what I was doing, studying, writing books, writing this, writing that. Remember, you don't get the articulation and the next level of evolution if you don't start using your brain. It's not just physical getting through the symptoms. It's also exercising and conditioning your brain. It's not always traveling over here and traveling over there and being all about, oh yeah, love. Or fear, or watch out for the fucking meat. Those are the temporary people who are afraid of everything. I ignore them. They're on my Facebook. Yeah, they were part of the J world, but they're not going to change. So I don't expect a lot from those that are still in fear of the meat, the milk, cheese, the eggs, the fruits, the vegetables, the food, the water, the air, climate change. I don't expect a lot from them at all, actually. I kind of feel sorry for them that they haven't got out of their own way. And they will take down their own culture with them. But that's the way it is. You can't convert people. They have to convert themselves. And if they don't have the capacity to, you can't make them. So you just have to watch. And it's agonizing. So what I'm saying, J-World, to those who are serious, prepare yourself to deal with the future. And so yesterday I had the attack of the future. I stood in the shoes of the future. And I'm thinking like, oh gosh, so I'm at this retirement home at 55 plus, and I'm 80, and I look like I'm 40, and I'm really energetic. But my neighborhood gone to shit. My house is like, okay, I really can't afford to fix it all up. Or maybe I can, I don't know. I mean, I'm taking like what's going on right now and putting that in the future, but would I have money in the future? I don't know. Would my book sell enough for me to be like, well, I can go fix my house up and do this, do that? There's no way to tell it. So I'm putting myself in a retirement home living on Social Security with maybe a little bit of a life insurance payout. And this is my life, and I have to go now and start over again in a retirement home. Maybe I write another book and make a little bit of money, or I develop another skill and I go do coding or some other thing, or I go back to school or whatever is offered, get another certificate in this or that, who knows. So I was able to stand in the shoes of the future, which means that I'm able to stand in the shoes of understanding both sides of every story that's out there. Every political, religious, scientific dogma is out there. That's freedom. When you're not jailed into a bias. Because when you're jailed into a bias, death is predictable. Bye.